So, Jamie, I want to dive right into the work that you're doing. Obviously, there's some controversy. You've had some protests. But before we get to what you've been dealing with in the past few weeks, let's talk about the Drip Cafe. This is a Christian-owned coffee shop out in Colorado. What is your mission? Why did you launch this?
Yeah, so we launched the Drip Cafe as part of our project. So I'm the owner of the ministry Recycle God's Love as well. And we have a project that we are starting up called Project Revive. And essentially, it's to take someone who's struggling with homelessness and break all the chains that are holding them down, as far as mental health, spiritual coaching, financial advice, those kinds of things, getting a job, getting housing, everything you can think of. So, as part of that project, we wanted to offer real jobs inside of our project. So, we opened the Drip Cafe so that we could hire people that are going to be going through Project Revive and give them real jobs. And during their work with us, we're going to be, working beside them. It's such a it's the reason we're doing it that way is because we could just partner with other companies and get them a job somewhere else, like McDonald's or whatever, right? But our goal is to work beside them and to mentor them and to sit down with them and be like, hey, like, how much are you saving? Here's your budget. Working through those real life things that to help them relearn so that they're successful after they leave Project Revive. So the Drip Cafe is essentially to offer real jobs to the homeless community.
So here you are, you're doing this ministry work. You've launched this cafe as an arm of that ministry work to help homeless people. You're, again, a Christian ministry. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
You open your doors and suddenly you have protesters showing up. And it sounds like it's pretty intense, the type of protesting that's been going on against your organization. So take us through how it started and what that has looked like.
Yeah, it definitely came as a shock and a surprise. We opened up on day one. So there's an event every first Friday on the Santa Fe street that we opened on, and basically it's like an event where they like shut down the street and people walk the street and look at art galleries and stuff like that. So, anyways, that's the day we opened, and they were already showing up outside of our cafe with, signs that had lies about us on there, about us like hating gay people and spreading homophobia and like all this crazy stuff. And then next thing I know, by 5 o'clock, there's 20, 30 of them out there with signage and actually, that morning before we opened, our building was already spray painted. So someone had come and defaced the front of our building already with spray paint saying, um, you know, keep Santa Fe gay and like stuff like that. And, with the anarchy sign on it. And so that was all there before we even opened our doors on day one. And then we, obviously encountered the protesters on day one, and they got their bullhorn going, and their goal is to scare away any customers that might want to walk in the door by spreading misinformation about who we are, essentially.
How often are they out there? Because and by the way, this started in July, right? The protesting?
June, actually.
June. Wow.
Yeah, June 2nd.
So 2 months almost of this has been going on. Are they there every day? Is it once a week? What is the frequency?
So they show up every Saturday morning, and then they also show up in a larger number on the first Fridays of each month, which is supposed to be our biggest day of sales. You know what I'm saying? But we encounter some issue during that time while they're there.
So have you tried to engage at all with any of these individuals and groups? I'm interested to kind of hear how maybe that's gone.
Yeah. So the first time I personally tried to engage with them, they had already known my name apparently because I don't hide it. It's on the website for our ministry and all that stuff. So they knew who I was. So as soon as I stepped out the door, it was like being attacked by wolves. Essentially, I couldn't get a word out. They didn't want to hear anything I had to say. I was asking them why they're doing this, what their reason is, all that kind of stuff. They didn't want to even hear one word I had to say. There is no conversation. It's just one side screaming at us, is what it feels like. I have had I essentially just avoid going out there because it riles them up, makes them more angry, and they don't want to hear me.
Well, they probably want you to go out. They probably want that moment too, I would imagine, right?
Exactly. So I just keep to myself and go inside and work, and share the love within the cafe and what we do. But I also have, friends and pastors and just buddies who come and they hang out, and they kind of are able to go out and not be as attacked as easily. And so they kind of like walk amongst them or talk to them and try to converse and even talk to some bystanders who don't know what's going on. And so we're able to kind of get some words out. But once they realize, we're making sense, they start screaming at their faces. We've had this past Friday, one of the guys spit in another one of our guys' face. We had one of them get in a physical altercation with another woman who was apparently part of the LGBTQ group, but she said that we were treating them nicely, and so they started attacking her, which was really bizarre. Um, so, so yeah, that's essentially how that part goes.
Okay, there's a couple of questions here about the impact, right? Obviously, you are running a business that is part of a nonprofit mission, I would assume, right? So I don't know what your registration is, and I'm not even trying to get into that. You're running something, you're trying to make money to sustain your nonprofit. You have homeless people coming in, right, who you're trying to help and train. You then have community members you're trying to attract to come in and buy your products. And you have people, it sounds like large groups sometimes, of people screaming things and protesting outside. How has this impacted your business and your mission?
It's made a large impact. I mean, if we looked at the sales, because the spot we're in right now used to be a coffee shop, and if we look at what the previous coffee shop was doing prior to them leaving compared to what we were doing on the days of protest, the sales are significantly lower. And so that's really their goal. They said they want our doors shut. They don't want us in their city. They don't want us. They told me they don't want me on the planet. That kind of stuff. So that's essentially their goal, is to try to deter as much business as possible to shut us down, which is really bizarre, considering the reason the cafe is there.
Yeah, you again going back to you're helping the homeless. Hello, everyone. So this is all rooted, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this appears to be rooted in the parent organization having a statement, a sexuality statement that is pretty commonplace for 99.9% of Christian ministries. That this was posted on your website. Was there anything in that statement that was out of the ordinary or was this just a traditional statement about sexuality?
Yeah, so on our beliefs page for Recycle God's Love, we do mention, among a lot of other things, that we believe homosexuality is against God's creation, right? And is sin. And so that's something we stand by, and we're not going to like bend to that. We have changed the way we put the verbiage on there, although we've left that same scripture and we believe the same thing. We've kind of changed the verbiage because we understand that some people can take everything out of context if they're not in the Bible and not, their eyes aren't open to what the scriptures are saying. And so we've kind of actually gotten a chance to elaborate more on sin on our website, which is kind of cool because we have like thousands of people going to our website all of a sudden and looking at our beliefs. So it almost gives us a chance to preach the gospel to thousands of people at once. And so we're kind of using that as an opportunity. But yeah, it all started because we do mention homosexuality as being a sin on there. And that's the only place and the only time we've ever mentioned homosexuality.
So the assumption is it's coming probably from that, or just, who knows. But I think it's important. One thing we haven't talked about, this is also an online campaign, as far as I understand as well. So these groups are organizing online. You mentioned there's obviously some LGBTQ protesters, which would make sense, but the Denver communists, is that accurate? The Denver communists are also involved in this protest?
I think that's something we definitely need to make clear is it is the Denver Communists. So the Denver Communist Group, which I had never even knew existed until June 2nd. And it's
Surprise.
I know it's super bizarre considering the history of communism, but so it's this group, and what they're doing is that, and it's exactly out of the playbook of communism, is they're using this LGBTQ movement as a tool, and kind of pulling people in against me using LGBTQ as a tool. Because from what I understand, this leader, who's the leader of the Denver Communist Group and others, they're not even part of the LGBTQ group. You know what I mean? They're not. They don't identify as that. They're just using this as a tool to come against a Christian coffee shop because we're against their movement, essentially.
What happens next for you? Because you mentioned, and before you answer that, I just want to go back to one thing. Your building was defaced. You've had people outside protesting. Is there any recourse, legally speaking, to stop this, or is there not?
They know how. They've been doing this for a couple of years, right? Ever since COVID and stuff. They know how to play the rules. They know how to walk the line. They're walking it very finely. Um, they did break a couple of our windows, but they did it overnight and undercover, and so there's no proof of who it is. They spray painted our building overnight, so there's no proof of who it is. They barely leave enough room for people to walk in, so they're not blocking physically from customers coming in. So they know that they're playing the rules very closely to the law and what their free speech is and that kind of stuff. But it's to the point where it's like, where does their free speech start to impede my civil rights as a Christian and to believe what I want to believe? And now it's like my rights are under attack while we're trying to protect the communists' rights, which is super bizarre.
Well, yeah, and I'm imagining that do they harass people who come out of the shop, like after they've bought coffee? I mean, do they yell at people? Is there some of that going on too?
Oh yeah, so they have a bullhorn, and if anybody goes in, they boo them. The whole crowd boos them, and when they come out, they boo them and call them a homophobe, and they scream at them, yell at them, scream profanity at them, and that kind of stuff. And even there was a couple older ladies who went in, didn't know there was protests happening. I don't think they were on one side or the other, but they were so scared to go out front. We had to like sneak them out the back. You know what I mean? Like that. This is what it's coming to, and people.
Customers like that are going to be afraid to come back. Let's be
Exactly.
honest, right? I
Exactly.
mean, that is the end result, and that seems to be the purported goal here, right? To make people not want to go in. And what? Let me ask you this: you've got this mission. You're helping the poor. You're helping the homeless. What happens next? Do you persist in your mission here? What do you anticipate are the next steps that you make as you journey through this?
Well, we're not going to give up. God has made it very clear of where we're supposed to be. We make decisions very full heartedly when we make decisions, and the Drip Cafe was literally just this silver platter like cafe handed to us, right? Like it was an obvious sign from God, this is where he wants us. So now it's more of navigating, what is he trying to do with us here, because at first it was like, this is all it's gonna be, this awesome thing, job for the homeless. And now it's like, whoa, now we're giving this spotlight to the state of what is going on against Christianity, and like we're going to stand bold in what the truth is and what the word of God says, and that's where we're going to stand. Our goal is to continue to fight and keep this business open because it does have a mission behind it. It's just not a little coffee shop. Like there's a lot of love and a lot of mission behind what we're doing. So we're going to continue to fight and ask for people to support us through this. So.
Now, last question for you. If people out there do want to support you in some way, if they want to reach out, if they want to, I don't know, however they can support you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so we have two ways you can support us. Obviously, if you're local in the Denver area, please come by, say hi, come pray, get a cup of coffee, whatever. Also, prayer is huge no matter where you are. If you could be praying for us, that is a big deal. And also, you could go. We started a Give, Send, Go for the cafe to help offset some of these costs that have been damaging the business, including trying to replace our windows that have been broken from them since the first week we opened. So we're trying to get those replaced. So we have the Give, Send, Go. Also, you could visit recyclegodslove.com, and you could look on there for any kind of support of Project Revive or a cafe. So either way.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time today, joining us. Please continue to keep in touch. Let us know. We'll love to have you back as the story develops.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.